Okay.
Welcome, Masters, to CCC Book Club.
Joshua, can you stop the music? Joshua?
Where were we?
Yeah, you can start from 90th page. Yeah.
90th page, but where were we?
Yeah, you can start from the beginning of the page.
But we already read all this, but...
Yeah, or you can start with the last paragraph if you want. Yeah.
Oh, I think it was...
Wherever you feel comfortable, you can just either, it's okay, you can just repeat, it's okay. I think it's like our tortures. I think the last paragraph probably can start from there if you want. Our tortures of flickering low.
Our torches were flickering low, and it seemed that we should be gripping blindly in the darknesses of the tunnel. As we turned away from the lake, I thought how foolish it was for not us to bring spare lights. At the moment, the Lama Mingye Dondu turned to the far wall and felt about. From some hidden niche, he produced more torches and lit them from those now almost smoldering down. I think niche means something like, I'm pretty sure it means like a handle or a small hole in the wall. We keep our spares there, Lobsang, because it would be difficult to find one's way out in the dark. Now let's get going. Up the sloping passages we toiled. Toiled is like walking. Pausing a while to regain our breath. Oh no, I hate you. Our torches were full. Up the sloping passages we toiled, pausing a while to regain our breath and to look at some of the drawings in the wall. I could not understand them. They appeared to be of giants. They were machines so strange as to be utterly beyond my comprehension. Looking at my guide, I could see that he was quite home with these drawings. Well, Lobsang thinks Lama Mingye Dondup is quite familiar with all these drawings. And in the tunnels, I was looking forward to other visits here. There was some mystery about it all. I never heard without trying to get the bottom of it. I could not spend it. I could not bear the idea of spending years guessing the solution. When there was a chance of finding the answer, even if doing so involved considerable danger, my thoughts were interrupted by Lobsang. You were mumbling like an old man. We should have a few more steps to go. Then it is daylight again. We will go on the roof and use the telescope to point out at the sky where the monks of the old came to the surface. Lamia Minge dawned up is saying that this place must be very old because it said monks of the old, so it means it's been there for a long time. When we did so, when we were on the roof, I wondered why we could not ride the 40 miles and actually visit the place. Lama Ringa Dondup said there was nothing much more to see, nothing that the telescope would not reveal. Outlet from the lake was apparently below the water level. There was nothing to mark the spot except a clump of trees which had been planted by the previous incarnation of Lama Dalaya Lama. Next morning, we made a leisurely preparations to reach Chakpuri. For us, the Potala was quite a holiday. Before leaving, I rushed up to the roof to have a look at the countryside through the telescope. On a roof of Chakpuri, a small acolyte was lying in its back reading and occasionally tossing small pebbles on bald heads of the monks in the courtyard. Though through the glass I could see the impish grin on his face as he ducked out of sight as of the puzzled monks below. It made me acutely comfortable to realize that the Dalai Lama had no doubt watching me doing similar tricks. In future, I resolved and confined my efforts to the side of the building, hidden from Potala. But it was time to leave, to say thanks to those lamas who particularly to make short say please. Time to practice nice to the Dalai Lama personal steward. He had charge of the fruits from India. I must have pleased him because he offered me a farewell gift, which I was not slow to eat. Then fortified, we started down the steps on our way back to Iron Mountain. We reached halfway, then we became aware of a shout and calls, and passing monks pointed back and behind us. We stopped. The breathless monk rushed down and gasped to Lama Mengya Donda. my guide halted. Wait for me, Lobsang, I shall not be long with that. He turned and walked up the steps again. I idled, admiring the view, looking at my former home. Thinking about it, I almost turned and almost fell backwards as I saw my father riding towards me. As I looked at him, he looked at me. His lower jaw dropped, and slightly he recognized me. Then, to my unutterable pain, he ignored me and rode on. I looked at his retreating back and called, Father! He took no notice of whatever, but he rode stolidly on. Well, it looks like that again he saw another member of his family, but this time he bothered to say hi. But it looks like his father didn't care that much. And it said I think it seems that first Lobsang's Lobsang's father is a little bit surprised to see him. So moving on. My eyes felt hot. I began to tremble. I thought I was going to disgrace myself in public on the steps of Patala, of all places, with more self-control than I thought I possessed. I straightened my back and gazed over Lhasa. About half an hour later, Lama Mingya Donda came routing down the stairs, leading another horse. Get on, Hobson. We need to get to Seva in a hurry. One of the abbots had a bad accident. I saw my case tied to the saddle and guessed it was my guide's equipment. Along the Lingua road we galloped, past my former home, scattering pilgrims, beggars alike. It did not take us long to reach the Seva Lamsari, where monks were waiting for us. We jumped off our horses, each carrying a case. Lord Abbot led us to where an abbot led us into where an old man was lying on his back. His face was the color of lead, and the life force seemed to be flickering almost to a halt. See, masters? Now again, Lobsang is using his imaginative ways. Now the color of lead, and then there was free as a bird, something. They had a lot of he describes a lot. It looks like, and the life force seemed. The Lama Mingya Dondip poured for boiling water, which was ready. Into it, he dropped certain herbs. While I was steaming, the old man Lama examined the old man, who had fractured his skull as a result of falling. A piece of bone was depressed and expressing pressure on the brain. With the liquid cool enough, we mopped the monk's swag with it, and my guide cleaned his hands with some oil. Taking a sharp knife from his case, he quickly made a U-shaped cut through the flesh, right through the bone. If there was a little bleeding, the herbs prevented it. More herbal lotion was mopped on. The flap of flesh was turned back and cleared away from the bone. Very gently, the Lama Mingya Donda examined the area where he found the skull bone crushed, which was hanging from a lower level of the skull. He put a lot of instrument on it into a ball of disinfecting lotion. Before commencing, he took the ball with 2 silver rods. Extreme care, he inserted the thinnest end in the widest fracture of the bone and held it vigorously. When he took the firmer grip of the bone with the other rod, gently, very gently, he pressed the flap of the bone so there was just above the normal level. He wedged it with the rod and said, "Pass the bone, Lobsang." I held it so that he could take what he wanted. He took a small spike of silver, just a minute twaining triangular wedge. He pressed it into a crack between the normal skull bone and the fractured edge, which was now slightly above the level. He slowly pushed the bone a little. It moved slightly, and he pushed it a little more. The level was now normal. I will knit this together, and the silver will insert metal. Being an insert metal will cause no trouble. He mopped the area with herbal lotion and put the flab of flesh, which was attached by one side, with boiled hair from a horse's tail. He stitched the flap color with the site of operation, where the herbal paste tied into a place with the boiled cloth. The old abbot's life force had been growing stronger since the pressure was relieved from the brain. We propped him with cushions, and he was sitting in a semicircle. I cleaned the instruments in fresh boiling lotion, dried them on boiled cloth, and packed everything to move back to the 2 cases. After I was cleaning my hands, the old man's eyes flickered open. He gave a weak smile. He saw that Lama Mingya Dondup was bending over him. "I knew you could save me. That's why I sent a message to you. My task is not finished yet. Not ready to leave the body." Looked at him and replied, You will recover from this. A few days of discomfort, a headache or 2. But when that is gone, you can go about your work for a few days. You must not lie. You must have someone with you when you sleep, so that you do not lie flat. After 3 or 4 days, you have no cause to worry about. He had gone to the window looking out. It was quite interesting to see the conditions of a different laboratory. "You did well. Then, Lobsang, we shall make a team. I want to show you this community. It is very different from ours." We left the old abbot in the care of a lama. We went into the corridor. This place was not clean as Chakpuri, did not seem to be so much stir and dismal. The monks seemed to come and go as they pleased. The temples were uncared for compared to ours. The incense was more bitter. Gangs of boys were playing in the courtyard. At Chakpuri they had been hard at work. Prayer wheels were the most part unturned. Here there was an aged monk turning the wheels. There was none other. Cleanness and discipline which I had come as average. No, I would not. I think there were a lot of savages here. I said. He laughed. 7,000 of them. It is always a noisy few who become the silent majority of this disrepute. That may be, I replied, but they call this the world's fence. That is not what I would call it. He looked at me with a smile. I believe you can take the job of bringing discipline to this lot single-handed. It was a fact that our Lamacy had the strictest discipline of any. Most of the others were very lax indeed. When monks there wanted to laze, well, they just lazed. Nothing was said about it. Several of the wild rose fence is, as it is really called, is 3 miles from Bodala and is one of the lamasseries known as the Three Seats. Derbang is the largest of the three, with no less than 10,000 monks. Silla comes to importance with about 7,500 monks, while Gunting is the least important with a mere 6,000. Each is like a complete town with streets, colleges, and temples, and a usual buildings that go and make up a township. The streets were patrolled by the men of Kam. No doubt they were patrolled by communist soldiers. Chakpuri was a small community, but an important one. As the Temple of Medicine, it was said the sea medicine of medical learning, which was replaced the council chamber of the government. At Chakpuri, we were taught that I shall term judo. That was the nearest English word I could find of Tibetan restriction. Sung through Kampa to Tipo Lelapo cannot be translated, nor can a technical word of Amri. Judo is a very elementary form of our system. Not all lamasseries have this training, but we at Chakpuri were taught it to give us self-control and to enable us to deprive others of consciousness for medical purposes and to enable to travel safely in the rougher parts of the country. As the medical lamas, we traveled extensively. Old Tzu had been a teacher of art, perhaps the best exponent of it in Tibet. He told me all he knew, for he satisfaction is doing a job well. Most boys knew that elementary holds and throws, but I knew them when I was 4 years of age. The side we believe we should use for self-defense and self-control, and not after the manner of prize fighting. We are opinion that a strong man, we are the opinion that strong man can be gentle by the weak and sure brag and boast. Our judo was to deprive a person conscious when, for instance, studying broken bones and extracting teeth, there was no pain with it and no risk. A person made conscious can be made conscious before he is aware of its onset. He can be restored to fully consciousness hours later without ill effect. Curiously enough, a person made unconscious while speaking will complete the sentence upon awakening because of obvious dangers of the higher system. This and an instant hyper system were taught to only to only those who can pass the strongest tests of character. And then 2 hyponic blocks were imposed so that one should not abuse powers conferred. In Tibet, a lamasery is not a merely place where men of a religious inclination live, but with self-contained town with all usual facilities and amenities. We had theaters in which to see religious and traditional plays. Musicians were ever ready to entertain us. And there was no other community where there was such good plays. Those monks who had money were able to buy food, clothing, and luxuries, and books and shops. Those who desired to slave deposed their catch in the lamistic equivalent of a bank. All communities in any part of the world have their offenders against the rules. Ours were arrested by police monks and taken to court when they were given fair trial. If found guilty, they have to serve their sentence in lamistic prison. Schools of various types catered for grades and mentality. Others in Chakpuri had slaughtered person was permitted to sleep and dream his life away. Our ideas was one cannot influence the life of another. So let him catch up on his next incarnation. At Chakpuri, matters were different. If one did not make progress, one was compelled to leave and seek sanctuary somewhere else where discipline was not so strict. Sick monks were treated well. We had a hospital in the lamaseries, and indisposed was treated by monks who were trained in medicine and elementary surgery. More severe cases were treated by specialists, such as Lama Mingye Dondro. Quite often, after leaving Tibet, I have to laugh at the Western stories about Tibetans thinking about a man's heart is on the left side and a woman's is on the right. We saw enough dead bodies to cut open to know the truth. We are much amused about. I also have been much amused about the filthy Tibetans riddled with VD. So Lobsang is saying that a lot of parts other than Tibet in the Western, people are thinking that Tibetans are a little bit clueless. And Lobsang thinks it's pretty funny, looks like. And writers of such statements apparently have never been in those convenient places in England and America where local citizens were offered free and comfortable treatment. We are filthy, some of our women, for instance, put stuff on our face and have to mark the position of their lips so one cannot miss. Most of the times, they put stuff in their hair to make it shine or to alter the color. They even pluck their eyebrows and color nails, make sure signs that Tibetan women are filthy and depraved. I think Lobsang looks like Lobsang thinks does agree that Tibetan women are filthy, which is a little too much. But to return to our Lamistic community, they're often visitors. They might be traders amongst that were giving accommodation to a Lamistic hotel. They also played high for accommodation. Not all monks were celibate. Some have been thought single blessedness, which we do not induce the right frame of mind for contemplation. Those were able to join a special set of red hat monks who were permitted to marry. They were minority. The yellow hats were the celibate sect, were the ruling class in religious life. In married lamaseries, monks and nuns work side by side in all well-ordered community. Most times the atmosphere it was not so rough as in the purely male community. Certain lamaseries had their own printing work so that they could print their own books. Usually they made their own paper. This latter was not a healthy occupation because one form of tree bark used in paper manufacture was highly poisonous. Well, this prevented any insect from attacking Tibetan paper. This also had a bad effect on monks who worked at this trade, complained of severe headaches and worse. In Tibetan, we do not use metal type. All the pages were drawn on wood and of a suitable character. Then everything is except the drawn lines will pare away, leaving parts to be printed standard above the west board. Some of the boards were 3 feet wide by 18 inches, where the detail will be quite intricate. No board contained the slightest mistake was used. Tibetan pages were not like the pages of this book. They were longer than they were We used wide and short pages. They were always unbound. Various of loose sheets were kept between carved wood covers. In printing, the carved wood of page contents was laid flat. One monk used an ink roller over the surface, making sure of even disturbation. Another monk took a sheet of paper and quickly spread it over the board, while the third monk followed with a heavy roller to press the paper well down. The fourth monk lifted up the pages and passed it to a parent who used it to one side. There were very few smudge pages. They were never used for the book, but were kept in appearances to practice upon. A checkbody we had carved wooden birds, 6 feet high and 6 feet high and 4 feet wide. They were commons of human figurines and various organs. They were all made wall charts which we had to color. Masters, I think we could stop there and begin questions time. Please on your camera so I know you're at your screen. Anyone? Please start your videos. So I know you're at your screen. Raise your hands if you know the answers to the questions then. So it said, today Lobsang, what did he does anyone have questions? Anyone? Raise your hands if you have questions.
You did very well, Joshua. Just want to let you know you did a well done job. Great work.
Thank you, Lavanya Madam. Okay, masters. I think we could. Well, does anyone has questions or should I end the session? Okay. Okay then. Well, see you tomorrow, everyone. See you tomorrow, everyone, and thank you for coming.